Sophie and welcome back to the Nerdy Booktube channel, and today I'm gonna do my March wrap-up. So, in the month of March I didn't do as well as I did in February, but I read a lot more physical books, and I wasn't reading like 8 hours a day as I was in February, so I read a total of 7 books, which is actually good. And I'm gonna go through them in order of what I've read, as usually is. A little disclaimer, I don't have one of the books with me, well, the physical copy, because I do own it, but I lent it to a friend, and I haven't gotten it back yet. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. And, well, the first book I read in the month of March was one that I almost finished in February, but I was missing like 1 or 2 hours of the audiobook, and it was The Last of August by Brittany Cavallaro. And well, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I had given the previous book in the series a 5 out of 5 stars, but the thing I feel like in murder mysteries YA is they always try to force like a romance between the main character, like the detective, and the sidekick. And that was like the only thing that put me off. I think Watson. Well, explaining the story, basically we're following the descendants of Watson and Holmes. Well, Charlotte Holmes is the descendant of Sherlock, and we have John Watson as the descendant of John Watson. And, well, they meet in this boarding school, and there's a murder, and they're trying to solve it. But then they solve the murder, but they know that it's so much bigger than that. And at the end of the year, they go back to Charlotte's family home in England, and Charlotte's uncle is kidnapped, and they know it has something to do with the Moriarty family, but they don't know what, and they need to find it before they kill her uncle. And everything is fine, like I really like this premise, but then they start making Watson and Holmes like together, like sometimes they spend the night together, and they start kissing and feelings, and that just kind of puts me off, because why can't the main character be strong and single? Why do they feel the need to develop a relationship throughout the series? I don't get it. This is something that bugged me in The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson, and I don't get it. I didn't get it then, I don't get it now. Simple as that. Second book I read, and it is the book that I don't have on me, just because I lent it to a friend, and they haven't gotten it back to me. And it is Illuminated by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And this is a sci-fi. This is something I also started reading in February, but I was too busy to actually read the entire book like that. So, and it is a story about an attack on a planet, Carenza 4th, and Carenza is, well, it is an illegal mining exploration, and they are attacked by the the enemies of that company. I don't remember the name in English, but yeah. So they try to evacuate the planet. They take as many people as they can, and we're following this throughout archives. It is not like a chapter book story thingy. And I gotta say, I really liked it. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. Yeah. Well, we're following Katie and Ezra. They are boyfriend and girlfriend. And they kind of end up in separate ships, but they need each other to figure out what the hell is going on. because the AI is going crazy and, well, the civilians don't know anything because the information doesn't pass the top players in the hierarchy. And Katie is a hacker and she hacks into the system and she finds out what the hell is going on, and she knows, or she thinks of a way that maybe Radia can be fixed, or at least for the time being, for their sake. But for that she needs Ezra, that is in the military ship, which is Alexander. Katie is in damn it, I forgot the name. Well, whatever. There are 3 ships, 1 scientific, Hypatia. 1 scientific, 1 military, and 1 civilian ship. And there's Copernicus, the civilian ship, Alexander the military, and Hypatia the civilian. So Ezra is in Alexander, Katie is in Hypatia, but she needs access to the sources of Radia, which are in Alexander. So she asks Ezra to help, and things come tumbling down from there. I really like the writing style and the fact that it is not as usual, like with chapters and stuff. And I really like the sarcasm and the really dry jokes they make in the chats. It was really, really good. And they put in like a space disease in the middle, and I really like that aspect of it and the viral application to, well, it shows that even in space you're not immune to diseases, which is, well, very human and very, well, possible to happen. The only thing, like, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The only thing that made me not give it a 5 out of 5 stars, it's because it took me a while to warm up to the characters. Katie is not exactly the most likable person, and you need to warm up to her kind of humor and her way of thinking, and you need to get a little bit more of inside information before you like her, which is what happened to me. Book number 3. I'm not gonna dwell on this one a lot, just because I have a review already up on it, and it is The Only Daughter by Sarah A. Denzel. It was an e-arc. It came out on March 13th, I believe. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Review is up. I'll link it down below. Book number 4, and, well, the first book in the Be Nerdy book club, well, books for the month of March. It was The Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. This is the book, well, this is book 1 in the Grishaverse trilogy and in the Grishaverse universe. We're following Alina Starkov. She is an orphan and she is a soldier. She's a map maker, and they need, well, she goes in a campaign to go across the Shadowfold, which is like this really dark place where they have creatures that eat humans there. And, well, in the middle of an attack, she really lights up, literally. And she wasn't supposed to do that, because when people are little in this world, they are tested for Grisha. And Grisha is like a race that has powers. And she came out negative. So she shouldn't have any powers, but then she does, like, what the hell's going on? And we're following her and her story and her training and figure out what the hell it is, and figuring out what to do with the Shadowfold. Well, the world is a bit confusing at first, I'm not gonna lie. The use of the word Grisha in the beginning was excessive, and it wasn't really definitive, because it was referring to a country and to the powers and to the people, and it took a while before they decided Grisha was a race with powers. That was kind of my deal with this one. I'm not gonna go into this a lot, because I do plan on making a Be Nerdy review for the month of March. So yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really like the world, and after you get the magic system, it is really cool, but it does take a while to get, so that's kind of a mean part. And I will let you know more about this baby in the upcoming video. And I'm really, really excited to get into the rest of this. Well, next up, I read a book that I really wanted to read. I actually got this book as a promotion in Amazon because it was free for Valentine's Day, and it is Ashes to Ashes by M.J. Paget. I talked a lot about Snow-Kissed, which is the first book in the series. This is the second book in the Immortal Grimm Brothers Guide to Psychopathic Princesses. It's a mouthful, okay? So in the first book we follow the descendants of Snow White, well, not Snow White, but Queen Ravenna, Snow White's stepmother, sorry. And in Ashes to Ashes we're following the descendants of Cinderella's stepsisters, okay? So we're following a pair of sisters. I don't remember their names. Damn it! I can't remember their names. God. Let me look it up real quick. So we're following Sierra and Cicely, the daughters of the stepsisters of Cinderella. And it is the same kind of story. They're just passed down through the years. They go through different lives and stuff. Same thing as we did with the Snow White's thing. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I really liked the book. Realistically, it would be like a 4.8 or a 4.9 just because the timeline is confusing as hell. The events of this book are 5 years after the first book, okay? 5 years. And given the ending of the first book, you're made to believe that everything happens like right after, but it isn't. It's 5 years later. And I only got that like 70% into the book. It was really, really, really far ahead, and I was like, oh, so we're actually 5 years later. Because you get clues, but then they talk like everything just happened in a straight line, but it doesn't. And that was the only thing for me that kind of broke the magic of this world. Stop texting me. That was like the only thing that really broke it for me. So 4.8, 4.9, 5 out of 5 stars. Well, we're reaching a time of the video which I'm not really that excited to, well, talk about. And it was my first 1 star of the year. And it is the second book in the Be Nerdy Book Club books of March. Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. This book, well, I really don't like to bash books, but I'm gonna bash this. And I'm not gonna bash it a lot, just because I want to have a whole video bashing it. Well, basically we're following 2 guys called Will Grayson, and there's one similarity between them, and it is the name. Like, nothing else. And then they meet each other in a sex shop, okay? And then they kind of talk, and their friends like kind of mingle, and that's kind of it. This is the story. You have 300 pages talking about 2 guys who meet in a sex shop. They have the same name, and yeah, that's basically it. The writing was awful. The characters were awful. The one that was really like a little bit less annoying was Tiny Tim, and he was annoying as hell. Like, Tiny Tim is a gay guy, which is like fatty and a tower, but his name is Tiny, which makes total sense. And God, it's not Tiny Tim, it's Tiny Cooper. His name is actually Tiny. And he's the less annoying character in the bunch. Everyone else and everything else that happens, it's just... I wanted to throw this book out the window. I was reading it with a friend and we were like, are you liking it? And she was like, are you? And I'm like, no, but I chose this book. I really can't just DNF it. And I wanted to DNF it from the 40th page onward. The book is 300 pages. You do the math. So, again, I'm not gonna really go into this just because there's gonna be a video talking about it and Shadow and Bone. So, yeah. Again, well, as bad as it was, I was able to turn this around with my last book of March, and it was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 2 in the Throne of Glass series. We're following Selena Theodosian. She is like this assassin, but she ends up arrested and ends up in a... It's kind of a concentration camp, okay? There are salt mines in Dovier. But one day the prince goes to her and says, yo, I'll break you out of here if you agree to be my champion in a competition my dad is doing to be the king's assassin, and you need to work for him for 4 years. And she's like, well, I'll face it. Either that or I face certain death here. So we keep following her, and I'm not going to tell you the plot of this book just because it is a series. I really, really liked it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And I love the evolution of Nehemia, Selena. I really like how we're going with Dorian, and his reactions are very, very appropriate, even though they are stupid, some, but they're very, very appropriate for his kind of upbringing. And yeah, this book was great. Like really, 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 really great. I have planned to read Heir of Fire, which is like here. And I really can't wait to see what happens next. What I really want from this series though is more inside information about the king's past, Dorian's past, and Chaos. That's like really, really, really what I want, and I want to know them better and understand why they have certain urges as they do. But it is a series, so if something is not revealed here, or if some characters aren't evolving as fast, I'm not gonna bash it for it because there's 7 books in this. So maybe at some point they will evolve. And these were the 7 books in my March TBR. I know I have like 1 extra arc, and I didn't read it because I'm not smart enough and I didn't realize it was book 2 in the series. So that ruined it for me. And well, this week is gonna be like very busy here on the channel because there's this video, a books and makeup tag which I just filmed, and my April TBR. So be sure to click the subscribe button and the bell to be warned when I post videos, which is usually every single week and Thursdays around the afternoon. Not so sure about the time because I don't really have a time. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.